Hi everyone, this is Lila'Angelique. I'm sharing a slightly strange time lapse because this was a pretty weird piece that I ended up doing, and I wasn't expecting it to turn out this way. So there are points in which I didn't film, and then you just see the result. Here's me after I created the base and then the background of all of these paints, and then I ended up filling the entire canvas with paints using a palette knife, and I spent many days looking at it and trying to figure out what the hell to do because I didn't feel inspired really to paint anything because the canvas was just so full of color that it felt like anything that I painted over it, you couldn't really see. So it, like at this particular point when I'm working on it, I just wanted to throw it away. So I was so frustrated with it and it wasn't working. But that little thing you see in the middle, I worked several days on just painting pieces of paper and making little cutouts of weird creatures. And then here I'm starting to put little tassels and stuff all over it. And then I started to kind of like it. This was after over a week of working on it. And I don't give up on pieces that I make. I can't I I can't seem to stop. I can't seem to just give up, and I take it really seriously. So here I'm at a point where I've gotten up to this certain point, and I spend a couple of days cutting out, actually making copies and prints, and then cutting out um, pieces of my artwork to then. My intention was to then glue a bunch of these pieces onto the canvas, and because I do back and front, where I do uh, every piece I was making up until painting on canvas, I would draw on the back and the front of a piece, so I wasn't going to be cutting out my original pieces. So making copies worked, and so now I'm in the process of. I tried to do a time lapse of this, but it ended up not filming as a time lapse. It filmed as just a regular speed. So I tried to speed it up as much as possible, but um, this whole process took about maybe 2 hours just to start gluing things on and deciding where I wanted things to go, and it was all very intuitive. My work tends to be hyper detailed and focused on as creating as much detail as possible. But the other day when Thoth saw me finish it, he was saying to me that you're adding white space to it because I think the thing that really bothered me about the canvas is that there was not a single ounce of white space on the canvas anymore. It was just all this intense color, which is it looks nice, sure, but it's for me it was overwhelming, and I just didn't know what to do anymore. And like I've said, the paint was so thick that it just didn't allow me to paint, to build up like an image anymore. And I tried when I first got going with it. I tried to like just paint an image, paint a face or something, and it just wasn't working. So for with all pieces that I make, it's definitely trial and error over and over and over again. And this particular little cutout that I made, I really like. It was particularly fun to cut out because all of the fingers were very detailed, and I could definitely take that particular cutout with the weird alien eyes and hands and make that into a T-shirt or a piece of clothing or something. All of these pieces I could do that with. So it was just the whole art process is very slow and very tedious. But when I'm in it, when I'm really enjoying it, I don't think about that. But with this particular piece, up until the point where I'd actually made these little cutouts, I was really, really, really frustrated because I just could not, for the life of me, figure out what to do. And I'm really proud of myself because I always do end up figuring it out, and I can't say why that is. It's just, for me, it's a matter of dedication and stubbornness, I guess, is that I'm just refused to give up. I can't have, for me, I can't have a piece of art sitting in my house that I feel like I failed at, or a drawing or something that I feel like I didn't figure it out. It feels good to me when I finish something, and I know that that's something that's difficult for artists, is following through with things. But for me, the creative process is all about following through, and I think particularly for art, for me, art is something that I just will not give up on. And I think that's because art is something that's so there, if that makes sense. It's something that's so visually there, and I can see it, and I can see myself progress with it, and I can see myself improve on it every day. Whereas with music or writing or things like that, I can't really see the progress, and no matter how much progress I've made, I can't really see it. And with creating music, with writing music, that's also hard for me, is because writing music on Reason, for example, is very tedious, and it's not a natural, intuitive process for me like art is. So, and I can't see my progress. I don't really see the fact that, oh, look, I've created a piece, or you know. So that's why I really like improvising and playing live and improvising, is because it's there, I did it. It's there and it's done, and I did it. So I'm looking at this piece, this finished piece, as I'm making this, doing this talk. And it's interesting how the whole process of this particular piece is probably over a year of work, technically, because all of the little cutouts that I did, I drew over about a year of time over the last year. And I wouldn't have these little things that I cut out if I hadn't worked for over a year at them. And then I wouldn't have the ability to have created these images without the previous 20 years of creating, which is why my art is so unique and interesting, is because it is a style that I've developed very organically over 20 years. And it's what's funny is it's really only now that people are starting to actually see it, which is interesting, because up until now I really wasn't sharing it online or sharing it with anybody. I'd just share it sometimes with friends when we were hanging out with people, and I'd have my art there. And I think up until this point I wasn't really very confident with it. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't believe that I was ready, quote unquote. I didn't feel like I was good enough. And the truth of the creative process is that you're never ready, and you've never arrived. You just do it, and then things happen. And funnily enough, I had a relative, as I've shared, who was interested in buying my first canvas painting, which took me about 2 months to even start on. Once I got the canvas, it took me 2 months to even do anything with it, because I was terrified that I would screw it up. And though there is no wrong way to make art, which as I'm working at this process, I'm seeing more and more that is the truth, that I can pretty much do anything I want. Well, I can do anything I want, and I will figure it out, and I will find a way to make it look a way that satisfies me in the end. And I don't know what I'm going to do with the next piece I do. Right now I don't have any cash on me, because one of my cash card got hacked or something, and I'm having another card sent to me presently. So the art supply store only takes cash, annoyingly. So I have to wait a couple more days to get my card, and then get another canvas and start on another piece. And I'm interested to see what kind of piece I'll do after this, and how what I've done so far, the 4 paintings I've done, will affect the next one. Because like I said, I never, ever, ever know. I might have a vision. I do tend to have an idea when I start. But then, for example, this one got away with me because I was initially I was intending to do I wanted to do like a self-portrait, for example, which I think I might do in my next one, like do a larger face with with a lot of abstract elements to it, and maybe things floating around on the head somewhere. And I was intending to do that with this piece, but with all the paint, it just wasn't working. So I know that I need to create a lighter layer. That's what I've been doing with all the other pieces I've made. And but the whole process of creating art for me is that you just have to kind of start. You just kind of have to go with it, and even when it's not feeling right, you just have to keep trying and trust your ability as an artist. Because the more skill you have, the more you will figure out problems and find solutions to things that may not be working necessarily. But like when I get discouraged, I find that it's particularly hard to make art because like the other day I got discouraged about thinking I was going to sell one of my paintings, and then I wasn't, and then the person reneged, and then feeling like, what am I doing with my life? I'm just spending all this time making paintings that no one's going to buy. Nobody knows who I am after I've been doing this for so long. Will anybody ever know who I am? Will anybody ever value what I do? And I know that all artists struggle with this, so I think it's a relatable thing, and that's why I'm making videos about it and talking about it, because I know that it's something that other artists who struggle with this relate to. Because we all, anybody who isn't a famous musician or artist, goes through this. Most of us are unknown, most of us, and it can be a really difficult process. But I find that with art in particular, I find that the more I work at it and just keep trying, the more that I find that things show up that are really awesome, and then I can go, look, I did it. Look, I created this thing, and it turned into something that I really am proud of and feel good about. And that generally always happens, is that no matter how hard it was from the beginning, I feel good about what I've done because I kept trying and I kept going instead of giving up. And that really is, at the end of the day, the difference between people who succeed in art and music and stuff and people who don't, is that you just have to keep trying. And even though I've been discouraged before, I've been very discouraged, and I've gotten extremely depressed and even suicidal at certain points, I haven't given up, and I've still not achieved what I want to achieve. I really want people to see my work. I want to sell my work. I want people to value it. I want to do gallery shows. I want to perform in galleries. I want to sing in galleries with my art. And the only way for that to be even slightly possible is that I keep making art. But it doesn't necessarily, just because I make a bunch of art doesn't mean that anybody's going to buy it or value it, which is hard to come to terms with. Because, that's been true for my music career as well. Our music career, Thoth and me together, is that working really hard doesn't guarantee success. But it's the fact that you work hard anyway, and you just keep trying, which is something I am having to come to terms with, is that I am a hard-working artist, and I'm always going to work hard. I'm not going to stop working hard because I get frustrated and because I get discouraged. And it's okay also for me to feel discouraged and for me to feel hopeless, and for me to want to take a little break with my work, because that's important at the end of the day, to find a balance between working really hard and taking breaks. So anyway, I'm really pleased with how this piece came out, and I hope you enjoy this little time-lapse video. I'm really surprised by how it ended up turning out, and I'm proud of myself for following through with this whole process, and I hope that you enjoy it.